So right towards the tail end of last year, a film came out from one of the most prolific animation studios on the planet. And while I find this film underwhelming, especially comparing it to their films from the early 2000s, I still found myself to be impressed by the visuals that went into it. No, I'm not talking about The Boy and the Heron by Studio Ghibli. No. I'm on about Aardman Studios actually making Chicken Run 2, the absolute mad lads. Now, if you don't know Aardman Animation, they basically made my childhood. But they did this for practically everyone my age who grew up in the UK. Now, I'm not really sure how much of a presence Aardman has outside of Britain, just because I know that while they're certainly influential to a lot of people working in the wider Western animation sphere, I never really understood if people outside of Britain watched Aardman movies the same way they'd watch, say, Disney. It's for that reason I find myself pleasantly surprised when someone references Aardman on the internet. The most recent of these occasions came when I discovered someone had made a rap battle between the Captain from The Pirates and Adventure with Scientists and Horshaw Marin. The video made me ask a lot of questions, namely, who made this and why wasn't it me? Now, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that this video is literally everything I want the internet to be, and I'm going to link it in the description since it is kind of fire. But one thing that I want to mention is that this isn't the only time the anime community and Aardman have collided, since that also happened in early 2019. With the release of the first season of The Promised Neverland. When The Promised Neverland was in its first season, before it all went to hell, people were recoiling from the intensity of the plot twist in the first episode, almost fainting with how tense some of the scenes got, and most of all, people were seeing all the pieces fall together and saying, "Hey yo, this is just the plot of Chicken Run, isn't it?" It was hard not to notice the similarities when it was first airing. After all, the story is about a group of creatures bred for slaughter living on a farm where they are constantly examined for results. One of them, who is noticeably ginger, plots to help everyone escape. And while we're at it, the villains of both The Promised Neverland and Chicken Run are both women with dark hair and a black and white outfit who have a grudge against the protagonist specifically. And I'm pretty sure there are people out there who want to be stepped on by them. Now, I was a hardcore chicken truther back in early 2019, so much so I even changed my laptop background to this. Funny anecdote, I was in school doing some work on my laptop when I had this as my desktop background and someone saw it, and they then said, "Oh my god, is that Five Nights at Freddy's?" There is no point to be telling you this, I just think that's kind of funny. But now that Season 2 of The Promised Neverland and the sequel to Chicken Run have both come out, I'm afraid I have to go back on what I used to think. Dawn of the Nugget has proven that Chicken Run is not The Promised Neverland. Now, a lot of people will disagree, citing that, Dawn of the Nugget starts with a chase scene, just like The Promised Neverland Season 2. They have to break into a farm, just like in The Promised Neverland Season 2. This one isn't very good when you compare it to the first one. Just like The Promised Neverland Season 2. Well, this isn't comparable to The Promised Neverland Season 2. Firstly, Dawn of the Nugget is only bad when you compare it to the first Chicken Run film. The Promised Neverland Season 2 is ass even without having to compare it to anything. Secondly, just because something reminds you of The Promised Neverland doesn't mean it is The Promised Neverland. Otherwise, this would be The Promised Neverland because it looks like Emma and Ray standing in the middle of the preservation flowers, and Modern Warfare 3 2023 would also be The Promised Neverland, because most of it is inconsequential and boring until it gets to the ending, which is a load of fucking bullshit. But none of them are The Promised Neverland, and neither is Chicken Run. Dawn of the Nugget is what put the nail in the coffin for me once and for all, because this sequel proved to me that Chicken Run isn't actually an adaptation of The Promised Neverland. It's actually an adaptation of Attack on Titan this whole time. Chicken Run, or as it was originally known, Shingeki no Chikin, was director Niku Koen's attempt at adapting Attack on Titan. Where this differs from the Wit Studio and Mappa version, or as I'll be referring to it in this video, the inferior version, is due to the fact that they have made the plot linear, and they aren't dicking about with the whole basement ordeal. Instead of building up to the backstory, the first movie is the backstory. Sure, the character might be named Ginger instead of Grisha, but the story is still the same. They grow up in an encampment surrounded by barbed wire fences, and upon seeing the guards kill someone they consider a sister, they form a group that will dethrone the current order. However, they are betrayed by someone close to them, and escaping to an island, where they end up conceiving a child and settling down. It is with Dawn of the Nugget that the events of the inferior version of Attack on Titan up until the Liberio arc are adapted, and this was evidenced in the marketing. On the front cover of Dawn of the Nugget, as well as the promotional material for Chicken Run Extraction, this toilet plunger gun is put up front and center, clearly a nod to the omnidirectional movement gear from Attack on Titan. And you have to have noticed the secondary characters are the true form form of Isayama's characters. For example, take the one who wears glasses, who conducts experiments on how to defeat the giant enemies, the old general who goes on random rambles that no one listens to, or the comic relief one, who nothing bad will happen to, I promise. But the most important trio in Attack on Titan are done service here in Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, as our protagonist is Molly, a chicken born as a slave to freedom. Molly grows up on an island where the Order has been set up to prevent people from knowing of the oppression of their kind that is happening outside, and her own parents want her to leave all that conflict behind. But Molly cannot let this be, after one of the two people she is close with growing up tells her about some of the things that were beyond the island. This worries the other person who she was close with when growing up, as she is biologically sworn to love our protagonist. However, our protagonist's desire for freedom takes them beyond the walls, as she finds that her kind are tortured by forcibly being turned into mindless beings with no sense of direction that exist only to eat, and can only be freed from this state by sticking something sharp into the back of their necks. Upon making it to the mainland in Attack on Titan, Eren plots with Zeke Yeager, someone who is pretending to have his kind's interest at hand, when in fact he is leading them to their untimely end. And this is translated into Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget as this man dressed as a chicken. It's more of a visual metaphor they went for in this version. But the rest of the Liberio arc is reenacted fairly faithfully as well, since Sir Eats-a-Lot, who is a representation of the Global Alliance, is shown a film presentation of the urgency with which they need to exterminate Molly's kind. But that is interrupted by the crew arriving on a Zeppelin and dealing away with their enemies by blowing them up to Kingdom Come. Now, I felt this was almost perfect, but unfortunately the full vision from Niku Koen could not shine through, and this is due to the music. Which is a shame, because Hiroyuki Sawano has gone on record saying that his entire career has led up to Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, and because of this, some of the songs he made for Kill La Kill soundtrack were actually intended for this film. The problem is that Studio Trigger directly intervened from preventing him on using said tracks. The reason for this is likely due to the rumours that Studio Trigger are working on an OVA adaptation of the adventures of Wallace and Gromit with Garterbelt, but thankfully there's evidence as to where some of the original songs would have been used. So I'm able to piece together the director's cut of certain scenes, most notably the Tweedy reveal scene with its original intended soundtrack.
Allow me to introduce my wife. It's her.
The symbolism in Chicken Run 2 is so in-depth that it goes beyond, and it even spoils the future of Chicken Run. So you have been warned. The scene in which Ginger is mind-broken is Chicken Run's equivalent of Eren's hand-kissing scene, because Ginger has now seen everything, and it has driven her insane. She sees a great traumatic event coming up very soon, as it will be the death of Babs, which this leaked footage even confirms. But all of this will lead up to the climax, the chicken rumbling. Now, this version of the rumbling doubles down on the ancient all-powerful force that characterized the original rumbling, since Molly will end up summoning a giant form of her evolutionary ancestor. But, of course, in this case, we are talking about the fucking dinosaurs. Now, this idea was actually confirmed in Attack on Titan's third OP, though this idea was scrapped in the transition between Wit Studio and Mappa, citing that they wanted to use it in the superior adaptation, and I'm glad they're saving it up. Will all of this be in Chicken Run 3? No, because there will be no Chicken Run 3. The rest of the story will not be told through a film, because it's going to be told through Chicken Run Extraction. It's a live service story which will be told seasonally. There's a 10-year plan. Aardman, I kneel. Literally nothing can go wrong with this idea. At the end of the day, Chicken Run is a great retelling of Attack on Titan, but it's still not Aardman's greatest adaptation of a manga, since after all, that would be The Pirates and Adventure with Scientists, the real anime version of One Piece. The One Piece is real, and it was Polly the Dodo this whole time.